Yo, 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 you can already see the title of the video. There's never a dull moment with Manchester United. So we're just going to discuss, can Jim Ratcliffe, in tandem with Ten Hag, get us back to the pinnacle? Because when you're at Man United, there's nothing else that can be entertained other than being back to the top. You can see TJ's wallpaper here, Roy Keane. That's the levels I'm talking about. That's the levels. So on that note, we're just going to introduce the people. So we got TJ, who's back again, of course, Worthy from the Stretford Royals. Link in the description below for the Discord. Join up the server, and also if you want to get on the show, you can access that through the server as well. So how you guys doing to start with?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good. How about you?
I'm all right, man. Just hoping and praying we're going to get Qatar in, but doesn't look like that's going to happen. Can't sit around here and mope all day, though. Just got to see what we can do and keep pushing. We're just going to start with the apparent changes what in terms of what we've seen. The statement has come out of what Jim Ratcliffe is planning to do moving forward with the club. I'll take it to TJ. I know you're quite well versed on this stuff. What have you seen in terms of Sir Jim Ratcliffe's plans for the club moving forward? What statements came out today?
Well, I think overall it's quite a positive looking structure. If it would lead to be what was reported with Paul Mitchell or Michael Edwards, and then you've Blanc, former president of PSG and Juventus during their good time. I think overall he'd bring a very solid structure to the club, and we'd be run very efficiently. Wouldn't be paying these overpriced fees for players like Anthony and Maguire as much. I think there'd be a lot more focus on youth because I think it would save money as well.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of the whole club, the women's, the youth, the academy, the men's, the youth and academy are the same. But I think overall they bring a very solid and stable structure to the club that will help us massively moving forward.
Okay, so on that note, of course, would you guys agree so there's different models in terms of how you can run a football club. There's the buy to sell model, what you see typically from the likes of an FSG at Liverpool. They very much do most of their big business off the back of a big sale, sort of a one in, one out, two in, one out. For example, just generating that cash flow to make the signings. Look at when Coutinho was sold for that large sum. What was it, around about 120, 130, 40, something like that, euros? Then they went out and got the Van Dijks and the Allisons. That's what they did with that money. They would never have gone out and bought those two players for that fee without making those sales. Do you think Manchester United will be that kind of a sell to buy sort of a club under this Ineos model, or do you very much think we're going to go out there and really drop the big bag on the profiles of players that the manager needs and try to get his first choice, best in class options at all times, and not really look to sell to buy? And just before you guys want to go to Worthy, then TJ here on that, if you see here, negative spend of more than £1 billion in the last decade. That's been Manchester United at the moment. So we're really bad in terms of our actions in the transfer window, the amount of money we make back from sales, and of course the amount of money we ship out. Do you think we'll improve in the transfer window? And do you think we'll be a sell to buy club, or we'll just continue spending the way we have been, or even more?
I think we're going to be a level above FSG. We're going to be like at least 2 levels ahead of FSG. I think we're going to be a club that sells players, but also like spends big money on other players. That's what I think that's going to happen to Jim Ratcliffe. But we're still not at the Man City level. I think we're going to be a level below the Man City model, because I don't think he's going to invest as much as City. So yeah.
Okay, so you don't foresee him actually putting money into the club himself, similar to what the Glazers were doing, where they didn't really put a penny of their own money. And obviously he's gone out there and he's in the process of purchasing the club, and he's going to work on the infrastructure, things like that. We'll get into that, of course. But in terms of putting money into, because I believe correct me if I'm wrong, if any of you guys know more about this, isn't it something around about 100 million or 150 million pounds every 3 years an owner's allowed to pump into the club of his own money? Is it something like that?
I wouldn't have a clue.
I'm pretty sure I've heard it's something like
Yeah,
that.
I
That
don't know.
it's anywhere from about 100 to 150 million every sort of 3 years that owner's able to put directly into the club, pure cash flow every couple of years. So the Glazers, of course, never did something like that. Do you foresee a future where Manchester United are having their own owner, Jim Ratcliffe, putting in that much money every couple of years to make sure we have that surplus to go out in the transfer window? Or do you not think he's going to be putting his money in like the Glazers?
I think he'll put more money in the Glazers, more money than FSG or any like club model like that. But I think he won't put enough money. I think he will the first season or first 2 seasons to win over the fans. I think he will spend some money to win over the fans, especially like the idiots. I think he's going to be a good owner. Which I don't know. Like he might be a good owner. In my opinion, I think he will. But yeah, I think he's going to spend a lot of money first 2 seasons to win over the fans.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't think he'll spend more than that. To be honest.
All right then. So TJ, do you echo the same sentiment of Webby? Because he's saying obviously like, yo, this guy's coming in and he's not going to be looking to spend beyond the initial couple of years where he's trying to win over the fans, but get some of his detractors that aren't going to be backing him off of his back during those early years. Basically, make a good first impression, and then after he sells in, when you first have a girl, yeah, and everything's nice, everything's rosy, you're in the honeymoon phase, you want to look good. You don't let her know that you like to piss on the toilet seat. You always make sure you wipe it, all that shit, yeah. Then the minute it's been a couple months and it's a couple years and you're now comfortable, you're pissing on the toilet seats. Do you think that's what's going to be happening with Ratcliffe now? Or do you think he'll continue to uphold a certain standard for a long period of time?
I think overall he will uphold a certain standard because I think the worst thing he could do now is when most of the fans not happy with him, the worst thing he can do is come out with these false promises and then not being deliver on the promises he's making. I think that would make it a whole lot worse for himself. So I definitely think I don't think we'll actually have to spend loads and loads of money because I don't think we are as far behind as people make out to be. In terms of facilities and stadium, we are. But in terms of the team, we're not that far behind. Like, we can beat City on our day. We've shown it last year. We can beat Arsenal. We can beat Liverpool. Just a few more players. You add to that, then we could. Well, you don't know what could happen.
Yeah, you never know.
Really bad.
Yeah.
Some really good players.
I disagree.
Well, okay, well, go ahead.
Go on, Webby, tell us.
No, I disagree completely with TJ. I think we need to, I think we need a lot of investment in the teams. Like we've clearly seen it. Like I don't think half of that team aren't good enough, or more than half of the team aren't good enough to play for us. We've seen it in the academy. I mean, to be honest, I don't think Eriksen's good enough. Malacia, he's amazing. I do love him, but I don't think he's good enough. Luke Shaw, he can be good at times, but I think he's getting older.
You just said he's amazing, and you love him.
Yeah, I know, but he's not good enough.
I think he means like amazing as as a person, or it's like he seems like a cool guy, but yeah,
he smiles a lot.
And on his day, he can be good.
Yeah, he's got an award-winning smile, but on the pitch, man, he's not doing the business.
Yeah, Lindelof, I can accept. Maguire, he's not good.
Lindelof is garbage, bro. I'll echo that with TJ. I want this guy done, bro. I can't lie.
Roger love.
Yeah, fair enough. But Casemiro, he's getting older. So
okay, so basically what you're getting at is
talent's gonna go down.
Is of course you're correct on that. So what you're basically saying is that you don't think we are as close to even with some decent investment over the maybe January, but of course the summer window coming up, you don't think we're actually as close to the top as what TJ was trying to say? Is that what you're kind of getting at, basically?
No.
So you think we're a lot further off? Okay.
No. We're way further off.
So if I just to a TJ, were you about to say something then?
No, I'm just disagreeing.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Just before you go on to say whatever you feel the need to do to, rehash what you said before. So Zane commented here, not excited by Paul Mitchell. His talent ID is overrated. The best players he discovered are Son, Dele Alli, Mane. Nothing notable of recent. So this is something I actually wanted to bring into you guys. So of course, Zayn has mentioned the people that have been brought in by Paul Mitchell, but you know what? Yeah, he actually hasn't been in active duty for a little while now. For a little while now, it's been a good number of years. He's not actually been a sporting director at any sort of a major club or any club in general, I believe. What I would say is that when Ralph Rangnick was here, he was having it leveled at him that he was almost a relic in some aspects of football, a bit archaic. Does he really understand the modern day transfer market? Will he be able to? Obviously, he didn't end up being brought into the director role because of the interviews he did. Obviously, the Glazers got rid of him, but he was being called a relic that had been out of the game for a little while by that point. Would he be able to actually help us in the window? Can we not level the same thing potentially at Paul Mitchell? He's not been in active duty for a minute now. What would you say on that, TJ?
Well, I think Zayn's point, I disagree. I mean, like Son, Mane, these aren't bad players.
Yeah.
They're very good players.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Mitchell,
and even the Dele Alli,
responsible.
that was more of a sort of a personality problem with him. The talent ID wasn't poor on Dele Alli.
Yeah, but even Paul Mitchell, he got Nkunku from PSG.
I did
He
see
was
that.
responsible.
See that?
Got Chouameni, Nkunku, Son, Mane, Dele Alli, all these really good young players, and he sold for really good profits. For the club he was at, he did a really good job, what he was meant to do. I don't know, you see, because it's difficult to see if he's going to be able for a club like us where we're not trying to sell for profit. But if those players are able to do what they came up as young players, and be as good and go off to teams like Real Madrid and Spurs, then I don't see why he couldn't be as good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys would be happy with a Paul. So wait, 1 second before so Zayn just commented here. Paul Mitchell's best work was when he was at Southampton with Poch and Tottenham. The transfer market has changed. It has changed, but what I would say in his defense potentially is the fact that it may have changed the inner goings, the transfer market in general, and obviously the players who are available currently in the modern day market. However, what will never change is these two things: your eyes, your talent ID in terms of your ability to scout and watch whether a player has the fundamentals in terms of on the ball, off the ball fundamentals, but also what's his family life? Is this the kind of person that has the right mentality, work ethic, these sort of things that are just as important as your footballing ability and your physical ability? That sort of thing, which comes from scouting and your eye test, that will never change, irrespective of whether the market changes, because footballers will always be the same to some extent. So I wouldn't really try to level the fact that the market has changed at him. You could argue that maybe he's not the right fit, we should get someone else. I can hear that. But saying that the market has changed and using that as a stick to beat him with, I don't believe that, because at the end of the day, experience is experience. And if he's got experience and the eye test for the right players, why can't he work?
I mean, Paul Mitchell is good. I would say he's an upgrade than Richard Arnold and John Martov. But I think there is better options out there. Like, I do like the Juventus CEO. Got his name, but I think he was the Blanc guy. I think he's like he's known for like the amount of talent he got for Juventus.
I believe his name.
So I would prefer him.
His name is
He's the CEO.
Jean-Claude Blanc. Yeah, you say he's a CEO. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a general director and CEO. Yeah, so he would be in replace of Richard Arnold. I'd take him in a heartbeat. That guy don't know what he's doing. Fuck that guy. Saying he'd be a step up is actually taking a piss out of this Claude Blanc guy, whatever his name is, Jean-Claude Blanc, something like that. Man sounds like a movie star. Back you know. Alright, so Zayn saying here, I don't think United can afford to buy players like Caicedo from South America. We need experienced players. What do you actually think of that? Because obviously we're going to get into the section of Ten Hag's talent ID and the types of players we should be looking to purchase, the roles we need to fill in the squad. So what do you think about this? Should we be looking for experienced players over experience should we be looking for experienced players and not really looking for hidden gems?
I think you need a balance
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
you can't
I agree with that.
experienced players, because experienced players, you're not going to be 25. You're going to be at least 27 or 28, and you don't want your team's age being average of 28 or 9. It's not good.
Mm-hmm.
So like what Chelsea are doing, I wouldn't necessarily like fully agree with the ridiculous amount of money they're spending, but their academy, they're stacking up the academy, and even then, if they don't, those players don't work out, they can still sell them. They're all good players.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're buying young players like 22, 23, and 24, who are good players, but we had experienced players. Like Sabitzer's an experienced player. Weghorst is an experienced player.
Weren't good enough. Both weren't good enough.
No. Well, Sabitzer maybe, but his injury record was dreadful. He kept getting injured.
Mm-hmm.
Eriksen's experienced. Like you wouldn't want Eriksen over Enzo Fernandez because Eriksen's more experienced.
Ooh.
I think there would have to be a balance between experienced and talented youth.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, because you don't want to be running an orphanage like Chelsea, just plucking young talent and then just throwing them in there and trying to make it work. But at the same time, you don't want to be pensioners FC, because that ain't gonna work either. Because love it or hate it, the modern football game has become very much a physical game. Become a very physical game, and you need that off the ball work, which is why even right now you can see at Real Madrid, Modric, not even arguably anymore, he's cemented himself as being one of the best midfielders in football history. He's currently, even with his age, when he's on the pitch, on the ball, he's still probably arguably the best midfielder in the world when he's on the ball. He can still move, he's still mobile, even for his age. However, look at the likes of Camavingas, Tchouaménis, the Bellinghams, the Valverdes, they're all right now being preferred by Carlo Ancelotti. Why is that? I guarantee in training, Modric looks better than all of them, but you need to be able to move. Experience is cool, yes, but it needs to be a balance of the two, because you still need that energy in and around these more experienced and older heads, which is why Casemiro has been struggling, because he can't keep up with this new style of football we're trying to play, more on the front foot, more pressing, more recovery runs. He can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
So what? So I'm actually seeing this coming from Roy Keane. Big up Roy Keane, and seen you in a little while, man. He says United are done, and I'm done with United, bruh.
I wouldn't say you. Yeah.
And I'm seeing this coming from.
I wouldn't say you have to lose.
I think, as Roy Keane, tell me in the comment section below, were you very much a big supporter of the Qatari takeover, and are you? And I believe of us too, because I know Roy Keane a little bit from the live chats. Is it a factor that, I believe with him, maybe it was a factor of the fact that Jim Ratcliffe is in bed with the Glazers? That's probably what's ticked him off. I can't lie. But I'm seeing here this coming from Zayn. For a Casemiro replacement, we need players like Onana. So, of course, he'd be mentioning Amadou Onana, who's at Everton. I don't want him at all. I'm sorry. We'll get into the players. I don't want Onana. I don't think he's good enough. We need better than that. I'm sorry. I don't want these energy merchants. Give me Man United. Yeah, I've always said it. We need players that have to be top class / world class in terms of their ability with a football for their position. But then obviously they need to then have that 100% work ethic and mentality. That should be a given. But then they need to have that elite or top class ball playing, footballing ability. Don't give you a Nana who's a physical specimen, but on the ball, he's average. Not good enough. I don't care. Because as much as we can clown on Casemiro's lack of recovery runs, his lack of mobility, these things he's struggling at the moment, on the ball, we've seen him do some phenomenal stuff since he's been at Manchester United. The ability to some of his shooting, some of his passing. For example, the assist versus Chelsea that he did. He's shown elite level quality at times on the ball. Onana will never be able to do that. And yes, we can't probably find a midfielder as good as Casemiro in the CDM position in terms of him as an overall player. But I'm sorry, we can do better than Onana. So I think you guys need to actually step step your game up in terms of the kind of players you want brought to this club. I'm not trying to see these people like Mounts, your Onanas, drop me out. These guys should be going to, if you mentioned earlier, Brighton. Brighton have players like Lallana there. Mount would fit in nicely at Brighton. Not Man United level.
Well, I think the other options to replace Casemiro is it's Palacios, Tchouaméni, or Onana as the three, and Tchouaméni I think is out of the question. So it's Palacios or Onana, and I think out of that, I mean Palacios' injury record is dreadful.
Nah, we don't need them. We don't need more of them. Those those NHS players, forget about it. We've already got Tony Marshall taking up our medical budget. We don't need another guy.
Well, since 1819, Palacios has missed 80 games through injury.
80 games. That's the equivalent of 2 full league campaigns in most domestic leagues. So, nah, I'm all right, man.
And I swear Palacios is more of an 8 than a 6.
Well gone.
When I see him play, it reminds me of Bruno Guimaraes. He's more of a Bruno Guimaraes, not a CDM, not fully CDM, but probably an 8, or balance of an 8 and a 6, I would say.
Palacios has been injured for 322 days since the 18-19 season.
Did you just say 322 days?
Yeah.
322. Yeah. That is wild. So, bruh, I don't even know what to say to that. Yeah, he just needs to stay clear of Manchester. Actually, no, you can go to the blue side. They can have him on their medical wage bill, but we don't need him. So
we actually tried to get him when we signed Amrabat on loan. We actually tried to get Palacios on a loan to buy instead, but they wouldn't go for it, so we came in for Amrabat.
So we tried to get that Palacios guy that you've just spoken about on loan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? That is a perfect segue into the talent ID question that I was obviously posed in the beginning. If we're looking at someone that you mentioned, 323 days out injured, 80 games out, and we were looking to actually bring this guy in on loan. And if you've seen the level of injuries we've had this season, we've been strapped for numbers at times in certain areas, and we were about to have a supremely injury-prone player to be brought in. So we're going to have to talk about that in a second, but let me just read out some of these comments. So Zayn said here, we need to be like Madrid. They have Modric, I must say Kronos, but I know it's a typo in it, Cruz, and then have now the best young players who are guaranteed to be a success. I would agree with that. Again, we'll get into that when we talk about the talent ID, Zayn. So I also think we will struggle to attract players with Jim, because with Jassim, we wanted to bring Beckham. The aura would have attracted many players. This guy said aura merchant, like Van Dijk, aura defending, yeah? I don't think this whole aura thing might pan out the way you think, but I do believe that a certain caliber of players or people that are well versed in that position being at the club is obviously going to entice a higher caliber of player to join, because they'll be more interested in your project if they see that you've brought the best in class, which is again what I've been interested in the Qataris, because they explicitly said they're looking to bring in the best in class in all sporting roles. We'll have to see if hopefully Sir Jim echoes this. So comment from Roy Keane, he said, Qatar was our only hope, bro. We are going nowhere with Jim, and the Glazers been supporting United since the late 80s, but this is too much. Yeah.
No, go on that.
Bro, go on, TJ. Worthy, feel free.
I wouldn't say give your hopes up now. I wouldn't say like don't give up on Qatar now. I would say until there's a club announcement, then you can give up. But I would say keep supporting Qatar. Keep your head up and just pray. No one can change it. So
that is severe.
I would say there is still hope. I believe there is still hope.
Yeah, bro. You know what's mad about Worthy as well, TJ? If you actually hear his voice, he genuinely sounds like he has hope in his voice. You know when someone's pretending they've got that false hope, you can sort of hear it, their voice is breaking a little bit. He's got that, he's on that full-on hopium,
Yeah, he's talking to Kobe Banks and all these guys now. So.
It's crazy, it's coping, bro.
No, I'm talking to multiple people.
Coping
I'm
me-
talking to people close to people that work in the United Stand. I'm talking to people who live
live in the Middle East as well.
every,
Yo, this guy,
yeah,
man. Yo,
people who live in Qatar.
bro.
And I
Okay.
tried to screenshot everything if I'm allowed. So
Well, I don't know inside secrets of what my government is doing. So I don't know why these random Qataris are going to know what they're doing.
I mean,
Especially
some
this.
of them are general journalists that work
Mm-hmm.
in under Al Jazeera and that.
Mm-hmm. Are they not the people who said that the takeover was hours away, back in June?
No, I don't talk to the same people who said that.
Okay, right.
Banks maybe because I wouldn't expose him.
Oh yeah, go on. Make sure you expose that, brother. I want to see that. Still. So
Yeah.
Roy Keane official said here, my problem with the ownership is that football is not the center of attention, money is. What would you say on that, TJ? Do you actually think that the ownership model that Jim Ratcliffe is going to come in with, will it be more focused on making income, or will it be football first?
I think it would be football first. I think
Mhm.
they won't spend ridiculous money, like outrageous, a couple $100 million a year. But I definitely think, because the one thing he's getting out of this 25% agreement is controlling football matters. And with all the people he wants to bring in with Mitchell, Blanc, all these guys, it does sound like those aren't. Jassim actually had a lot of bankers on his 9-2 foundation. So, like, you could argue it almost looked like they would be more likely to try and make money out of it. Because I don't think the way Ratcliffe has his, when he was doing his tours, he had all of his Ineos sports guys with him, all of them. And then when Sheikh Jassim's group were doing theirs, there was the Bank of America, there was the Qatar Bank. They were all bankers and all these guys. But Ineos actually had the sporting people there. So I think overall, I don't think they'll try and make money. I think maybe in the long term,
Mm-hmm.
10, 50 years, they might try and make money out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're winning trophies and all by then, I wouldn't really care if they take a bit of money out of it.
You know what I would say though? Let's actually call a spade, people. Let's call a spade. If we're being fair and even-handed, because we need to try to do that, of course, we're being fair and even-handed, you do not come into a situation with a club like Manchester United. If let's say we go off the notion that he's going to buy the entirety of the club, cool. You put, what is it, 1.5 billion pounds down? Is it 1.5 billion pounds or dollars? Is it pounds?
I don't know.
I believe it's pounds. Let's just go off pounds. 1.5 billion pounds for the 25% stake that he's gotten. Obviously, if you times that by 4, quick maths, 6 billion pounds, yeah? Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is about double the valuation of Manchester United. So if you're going to pay more than double of the valuation of an asset, let's call a spade. You are obviously going into that with the idea and the foresight, because, you know, statistics are a big part of all big business deals. You all have the foresight that Manchester United there'll be a growth spike, and we will go higher in terms of the valuation, which means one day you'll be able to recuperate that cash flow. Now, if I want to be rude, bro, the guy's about 70 whatever, you're probably not going to recuperate shit. Let's be serious here. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be serious. But anyway, when maybe his son or whoever else takes on the company will be able to recuperate whatever's been spent on the club. Fair enough. That's perfect. Anyway, he's obviously going to be looking to make money. So let's put that to one side, I'd say. Because even if the Qataris came in, yes, money is not an object for them, but they're not going to want the club to go down in valuation or make bad decisions with money. They're always going to raise the value, which in turn makes them more money as well. So let's put that to one side for a second. We're talking about what they're going to do in terms of on the pitch. Will they actually look to get us where we need to be? Because if we go with the sell to buy model, it's impossible for us to reach the top unless we get lucky, in my opinion. We have to get lucky. We have to have a sort of a Klopp moment, like you mentioned, TJ, where he wanted X player. You mentioned that, Dorman, I think it's Julian Brandt, but he went and said, no, let's go and get Mo Salah. We have to have something like that. We have to go and get a guy from Brazil like Alisson. Go and get Alisson. Go and get Van Dijk, who wasn't being regarded as one of the best centre-backs in the league, and all of a sudden he starts looking like a generational centre-back. We need something like that, all the pieces to fall into place. On the sell to buy model, you need that to happen. And that doesn't constitute for sustained success, because look at Liverpool. Once the luck phased, those players ran their course back into, you know, fighting for top four, which is what they did until they've made a little resurgence now. So that's just why I'm a bit worried. So, but what do you think on that, TJ?
I think. Wait, what was the question again?
Yeah, so it was just in terms of do you agree with the sentiment of that James Ratcliffe is solely looking for money and to make money from the club, so he's not actually gonna improve much on the pitch, basically.
Well, I think the only way to make money out of the club would be to put a lot of money into the club.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's no way he can just come in, spend 200 million, and then over the next 10 years take out 500 million or $1 billion. I don't think it's possible. I think the only way he could make money off the club, back out of the club, is almost by selling it in the future. I don't think there's really anywhere for him to make money with the club.
Mm-hmm.
Just he'd have to improve structure. You have to improve the stadium, the training facilities. He's gonna have to buy players. Like, add all of it up, and you're getting close to 1.5, 2 billion there alone. I don't know where that, like, it'd be the only way he'd actually make money off the entire club is by selling it in the future, when everything's all patched up and if we're winning games and trophies.
Okay, fair enough. I would agree with that very much, because the way Manchester United are in our current state, if there aren't drastic improvements on the pitch and in terms of how we operate, we are dusted. I actually think if the Glazers had stayed here for another 3 to 5 years, I don't actually want to even think about where we'd be as a club. Like, genuinely speaking, if there was going to be no outside investment or a full sale, I think they were pushing us to a point where, with the financial strains that were currently placed on the club, I think they were pushing us to some, I don't want to say administration or whatever, but yo, these guys were, they were actually destroying us, really and truly. So, honestly speaking, I didn't want Jim Ratcliffe, but if it's going to be him or the Glazers, bro, I don't know, man. Just have to firm it at some point. But what I want to move this on to now is we need to start talking about Ten Hag, because I said it before, and now that we've got new owners, potentially, well, we will get new owners. Whether it ends up being Qatar, still crossing my fingers, but we need to start looking at the manager, because if the Glazers are still around, but Jim Ratcliffe is involved, we need to look at what change can be made, because now the Glazers can no longer be held to account if Ineos are going to be taking control of footballing matters. So we look at the manager now, and particularly his signings.
I just want to there's some information came out from that video from the Muppeteers, and that there's a video on the Ineos, and there's some good points of information that I've just seen now. It's all the reason that the club bought all of Eric Ten Hag's targets was because of Joel Glazer. He said just buy them, so that's almost trying to throw Ten Hag under. He said Brailsford not going to be a United employee. Blanc was hired for Ineos with this United ownership in mind. So Richard Arnold, most at risk of losing his job. Likely Blanc could be head of football temporary to lead the staff shake-up.
So what that's getting at is essentially that the Jean-Claude Blanc, PSG and Juventus CEO, he's most likely the person that's going to be coming in to a job as being Manchester United CEO, and he's the one that's going to head the recruitment of the football department of Manchester United in terms of the football hierarchy.
Yeah, but even like Blanc only became part of Ineos last.
Go on.
I don't know why I keep disconnecting or something. I don't know what's going on. I keep disconnecting and joining. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think it should be all right now.
Yeah, I can't hear TJ. Is he muted?
Nah, he's on.
Well, wasn't.
He's muted for me.
Oh God, this happened before.
Did it?
Oh no, never mind. My bad. Never mind.
Okay, carry on then, TJ.
Okay. Blanc only joined Ineos sports department in December of last year, so like the fact they got him in just for the United, like United in mind, I think it shows that they've been confident about it for quite a while. Like, you would think if they were like, this is Qatar now, they have a lot of money, do you think they'd be like talking to him saying, look, if we get the club, we'll get you in? But the fact that they did it, well, closing in on a year now, I think showed they've been quite confident for some time. Especially because Matt, like, James Pierce, he's been saying that. Well, he said last August that the club was actually, the Glazers were talking to people who they thought would be interested in buying the club. So the club has been kind of up, not officially up for sale. That only went in November. But he said the club was for sale since like August. And when I was watching a video of his the other day, he said 5 years ago, we were actually very close to being sold to some Chinese businessmen.
Okay.
But then they called it off. That's all he said about that. But I think with what Ineos wanted, I think is very good in terms of what is being reported right now. And apparently they'll come out with a statement and they'll answer questions on when, the time comes.
That's one of the main things. I'm obviously going to be waiting for that with bated breath, because who knows, if I'm taking a bit of what Worthy's been taking a bit of hopium, maybe Jim Ratcliffe does come in and he's actually a lot better than we think. You just never know. You just never know at the end of the day what may happen. Hopefully it's going to be a long-term thing. Hopefully it's going to be a long-term thing, but that's left to be seen. So I do want to swiftly move this on properly now onto the Eric Ten Hag section of things. So we're looking now at the manager. Talking strictly and chat, get involved. Eric Ten Hag's talent ID. Where do we go from here? We're going to talk about the current signings we've had in, sort of rank them in how we feel the signings reporting so far have done. Then we're going to just give our 2 cents on what are the main signings we need moving forward in the next couple of windows to sort of plug the holes in our squad and really get us at the level where we can now actually go out there and go for trophies. Trying to be as realistic as possible with our thing. Don't be talking about flipping getting Mbappe and Jude Bellingham in. So a bit realistic here. Just quickly before we move on to that, so Roy Keane said, is your guest name TJ? Sounds like he will believe anything Glazers tell him. Reply to this comment. Roy Keane's drawing out. Roy Keane is being drawn out by Roy Keane.
Well, I think, this was all reported a long time ago. This is not just new stuff that's being thrown around because he's going to get the club and they're fluffing out PR just to get everyone on board. Like, Ineos have had these plans in for months. They've had ready to go, so it's a swift transition. Like, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. Like, we'll see what actually happens when they get the club. But I think what they're saying will happen because it's worse for them if they lie about all of this. It makes it a worse situation for them. More people will hate them. More people to give them a chance will hate them. I think it would be very foolish to actually throw all of this PR out there and not actually back up any of it. So,
fair enough,
I disagree with it.
No worries, man. No worries, man. Anytime these guys call you out, don't worry, I'll give you a chance to pop back. So cool.
Yeah.
Eric Ten Hag, yeah. So let's actually go in chronological order with some of let's start with last season's player signings, go into this year, have a discussion of whether his talent ID and his scouting is actually holding us back, which has been something that has been widely spoken about by loads of fans at the moment. So cool. We're actually gonna go now. Worthy, since you're back now, bro, tell me. Last year, people were signing. Talk to me about your Anthony's, your Casemiro's, your Christian Eriksen's, your Lisandro Martinez's. Talk to me, bro.
What? So am I gonna rate them?
No, so just sort of give me an idea of whether you liked these signings, whether you think these signings are gonna work, or whether you think that he could have done a lot better in terms of how he allocated the money for the signings he made, sort of thing, and just whether you overall think his eye for talent is gonna be able to bring us back to the top. You there, bro?
Yeah, I'm here.
Alright.
So it keeps. I don't know why my phone keeps disconnecting. So
Guys, calm. Go on then.
so I would rate. I think I would rate Lisandro Martinez. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a perfect signing.
Mm-hmm.
Like without him, we wouldn't have won the Carabao Cup, or we wouldn't have went third without Lisandro Martinez. So I think he's the perfect signing. Casemiro again, he's a perfect signing. He's exactly what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6.
Okay.
Anthony
Yeah.
is a disgraceful signing, I would say.
That's
95 million could have been
that's a
invested
disgraceful, you know.
somewhere else.
Oi. Carry on, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
95 million could have been spent somewhere else. For example, you could have either saved up to January and then spent, I don't know, 40 or 50 million on Anthony instead of 95
Mm-hmm.
Well,
in
I
January.
don't think that's Ten Hag's fault. He wanted Anthony the whole summer. And back in
Yeah,
June,
but I wouldn't blame
back in
him
June,
again because he wanted him all summer, but he had to
he could
pay
have been gone.
95 million for him,
But
and
it's not his
he
fault.
agreed for the 95 million.
But the club went and panic bought Anthony and Casemiro because we were losing and the Poles were ramping up. The Anthony deal could have been done for 60 million in June.
Yeah, I
You
know,
can't
but
blame Ten Hag
sometimes
that we
if it's at
60
the
million.
end of the window, he should have told them, all right, it's too late. It's going to cost 95 million. I don't want him anymore because it's 95 million. He should have said that. There was much more better right wingers out there. So if I was him,
Who?
if I had the 95 million, I would either wait until January and get him, or I would get a better right winger and a striker.
What are you saying to that,
What
teacher?
right winger? Who? Like, there was no other right wingers at the time available.
To be fair, Doku just signed for City for 60 million.
60 million Doku. No one heard of him. Didn't know who he was.
I think Doku's an overrated signing as well.
You do?
Because
Fair
if you
enough.
see his injury record, he's got a lot of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't track back. I think he's just good with both feet and he's just fast. I think that's what City got him. I don't know why, but I'm glad we didn't get him because I think he was overrated.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fair enough.
Who would you have bought?
Me, who I would have bought instead of Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I would have bought Diaby.
Oh, Musa Diaby that just went to Aston Villa, yeah?
Yeah, Musa Diaby.
You know, to be fair, what I would say is, it is what I would say about what Worthy said was he's actually more so going off of the point that Ten Hag, when he realized that the player was going to be chased or put on the back burner all summer because we were pursuing Frankie de Jong, and then by the time we came in at the 11th hour to Ajax to buy Anthony, since they had sold a lot of their players already, they upped the price by like 50%. So maybe he's trying to say that at that point we should have just said, you know what, it's not worth it. Yes, I wanted the player, but it's not as if there's not other options available. He's saying that Ten Hag should have just said that we should have moved away from that option, because obviously we get manager gives a list to the team and obviously they go out then to find the signings. So even if Anthony was number one, which that's actually a question, that's more of the bigger question. Why was Anthony first on your list? That's the bigger question, not, in my opinion, the question of who should we have got in place, because at the end of the day, the scouts are there for a reason. It's their job, along with Ten Hag, to know who fits the profile of what you need on that right wing. My bigger question, and I'm going to pose it to you, TJ, now. Why was Anthony number one on Ten Hag's list? Because this guy, had never done anything of real, true substance at Ajax. He did some cool things in the Europa League. He's never been prolific in terms of output, statistically. So what has he really done to have commanded that sort of a fee, or to have even been first on your list as a priority, and you still go out there and force the board to go and make that signing? That's my question to you, TJ.
I think what Anthony contributes, like his output in terms of goals and assists, it's not good. It isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you notice the difference in the entire team when he plays because of the pressing he does and the tracking back that he does.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's like that deal could have been done for 60 million and then it was done for 90. Like Martinez in June, Arsenal were bidding 35 million. I said, okay, well, give us 45 million euros, we'll take it. And then we went in and we paid 66 million euros for him. Like, that wasn't a good deal either. Martinez was good last season, so people forgot about the whole thing. Anthony wasn't as good, so people bring it up. But, like, it's the negotiating from us. We put in a bid of 50 million euros, which should have easily been accepted. But we went in late July, near start of August, when we knew they were going to want a higher fee for him. He could have been done for 4. We could have had Anthony and Martinez for maybe 110 million in June. But then in August, near the end of July, we paid 176 million for them both. It's like, it's investments like that. That's why the Glazers actually have to sell some part of the club.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's true.
they're not able to stay because they're making ridiculous investments, wasting 60 million like that. They could be buying other players with that. Like that fee, that fee would have covered Casemiro for Anthony and Lisandro combined. 60 million, save it there, and that just goes and gets Casemiro. Could have got all three for 170, but in the end we paid 250 or 60 for them.
And then we're forced to go and get a 31-year-old or 30-year-old Ericsson, who, I'm not taking the piss here, I'm trying to be rude, but he just undergone a serious event in terms of on the health side of things, has a pacemaker in. Mm-hmm. We had to get him from Brentford as on a free transfer because we had blown the budget.
Yeah. I think that was one of our first signings. That was one of our first signings, but I think we knew. But the plan was never to spend 167 million euro at the end of August. It was never the plan. But the protests were ramping up completely. Mm-hmm. No one was happy. The team was doing shocking. They had to do it. And that was actually, I think that was probably the final nail in the coffin, which made them say, "Look, we need to get some type of investment here."
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think my phone is like having like technical difficulties. I'll be back in 5 minutes or 10. It's just I need to fix my phone, man, because I can't hear. I don't know, my phone glitches all the time. Sorry about that.
No,
I'll be back in 10 minutes.
No worries, man. No worries. Sort it out and just drop me a message and I'll just yeah, no worries, man. In a bit.
Yeah, thank you.
Alright, cool. So no worries. So what I would say though is cool. What would you say to the people that are going on and saying that, look at the people we've actually brought in? Why does it always have to be so close to home? It's almost as if this guy is missing his time in the Netherlands. Yeah. So the players he brings in have to be close to home. I don't know. I'm sure this is a big man, you know, guy's in his 50s. Why do you need your Dutch brothers with you at the club? So look, Amrabat, we all know, Utrecht. Boom. He knows all about him. Mason Mount was scouting this guy back in his the loan spell he had. Was it Utrecht as well?
Yeah, he tried to sign him for Ajax.
There we go. So we have Christian Eriksen, who we all know has played with Ajax before. Boom, that's another person. Yep. So Lisandro, Anthony literally brought them in. He attempted to go for Malaysia, Feyenoord. He played for their rival team. He actually locked up Anthony when they played against Feyenoord. So he was probably on his nut since back then. There was Mason. We already spoke about Mason Mount. There is Andre Onana. Again, he knows him well, buddy since the Ajax days. We keep on going down the list now. Weghorst, Dutch. Of course, you could argue, cool. I know it was a loan signing, but why did it have to be Weghorst? I'm sorry, but there was people like Mehdi Taremi. I'm sorry, you could have got him on loan. He's in his early 30s. I'm sure he would jump at the opportunity to leave Portugal and come to Manchester United and see if he can, because you're competing against Martial. I'm sorry, but if you perform well, we could potentially brought him on and we would sort of had Højlund this year. We would have had a more senior striker in Mehdi Taremi, who's actually shown a level of quality and would have been a good loan option. Boom. Sabitzer. Yes, you can't make a direct link, but there's always a link somehow with Ten Hag. Back in his days at Bayern Munich, when he was a coach, he would have very much been in and around the German scene and would have seen him likely during those days as well. So every single player this guy's brought in, there's some sort of an affiliation with the guy, and there's no left field signing. And even when I tried my best to give him and say, I tried to back him and be like, okay, but what about Højlund? I find out that they've got the same agent. Please explain to me what's going on here.
I think he's trying to implement. I think he's trying to implement a short-term plan, and then build on it using a long-term plan by getting in players who he trusts to play his system and how he wants to play.
Mm-hmm.
And then whoever is good enough and consistent enough, he'll leave in the team, and then he'll slowly build up position by position. He's doing it with Onana. Well, I think Onana's there to replace him. He's there. He won't leave. I think Malacia is... I think with development, he can be the starting left back. Martin is going to be here for a few years. Varane's obviously going to need a replacement. Tadibo, Brantwatt, Inacio, Silva, these guys, he's going to want. He apparently wants a new right back because he doesn't fully trust Wan-Bissaka or Dalot. He needs someone to replace Casemiro. I think Mount is a long-term signing, which will work. I think we're going to need to replace Sancho. We don't need left winger because we have Garnacho and Rashford. Bruno, I think he'll keep Bruno.
Oh,
I think
that guy.
He got players who he trusted, and that he's going to build on it then.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll really see now what he wants to do with this investment coming in. Whether, Zinhos are in the 0.1% that Qatar somehow get the club. I'd be interested to see how he would do. Because I think he was still under a lot of financial restraint, and a lot of players he could get were within budget, and he knew. Like James Roth was saying, United had scouted Costa. They'd gone there nearly every game for 2 years, and they were convinced like he was the man.
As in Diogo Costa at Porto, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, he was going to be the guy for the next 10, 15 years for the club.
Then I assumed that
and
it was
Onana,
yeah.
And Onana was 15 million less, so they went for Onana because the money just was not there.
Glazonomics at its finest.
Same for Weghorst and all these guys. Like,
Lord have mercy, Weghorst.
That was a loan. Sabitzer loan. Amrabat loan when we offered a 2 million loan fee, which is outrageous. Reguilon is a straight loan.
Mm-hmm.
Tottenham didn't even want a fee. We're only paying his wages. It's dreadful. And I mean, in January with Sancho leaving, well, it depends if Ineos are ratified and then get their control in time. And if they do, I think there'll be quite a good signing in January. But if not, I think it's going to be another loan just to replace Sancho.
Okay, so
I think.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking at okay, no worries, man. So before we get on to and of course expand on the points you've made, which is mentioning the potential replacements and the positions that need to be replaced as well, I was gonna ask a question. So cool. What do you actually say about the point people make, which is that Man United have brought in players since Ten Hag has come in that seem to be, sometimes in certain areas, there doesn't seem to be a particular strategy and no real thought behind certain signings or prioritization of signings. For example, last year, what was our biggest problems? We struggled to break down teams with enough frequency and score enough goals. That was our main thing. We had a stellar defense, had a clean sheet record with De Gea, unbeaten bar one game at home last season, which is the Brighton game. Of course, they came to pam us again this season, but let's not talk about that. So we struggled to score goals, but then we decided to get rid of De Gea. I wanted De Gea gone. I believe he should have been gone. But people are arguing that why did we not allocate some of that money that was put towards Onana rather than replacing the keeper this season? maybe do it next year and instead buy an additional striker or additional goal scoring forward. Or if we get a midfielder, he has to be a midfielder that is known for higher levels of chance creation and goal scoring. So that also fits the profile of being able to press in the way Ten Hag wants. So Mason Mount fits the off the ball attributes that are required. However, I believe in the Premier League alone, and from open play, he's gotten eight GA, I believe, is either 8 GA or 8 assists for Chelsea in the entirety of his 4-year stint at Chelsea. 8. And this is the man we brought in that's going to help with the goal scoring issues. Yes, Højlund was one, but Højlund, again, I love Højlund, I'm sure you do as well, and he's proved that he's most likely better than whatever his stats were showing at Atalanta. But prior to his signing, there was no record of him being prolific. We bought a striker that was, at the time, no one knew whether he'd be prolific, and a midfielder who doesn't actually offer anything in terms of higher levels of chance creation and or goal scoring. So then where will we expect him to actually replace these goals? So the allocation of funds, the profile of players, going from wanting to sign Casemiro to instead signing wanting to sign Frankie de Jong, then you sign Casemiro, who are completely different. Casemiro has never been a first phase player, whereas Frankie de Jong is arguably up there or maybe a step below a Rodri in terms of his first phase abilities, press assistance, how well he circulates the ball carries, all that sort of thing. But Casemiro is not the same player at all. Why would you alternate? And because you can't sign Frankie de Jong, you spend a similar amount of money and go get Casemiro. Where's the like for like? Where is the profile? Where is the proper allocation of money? Where is the talent ID and the proper scouting for what we needed? That's the question I pose to you now, and this is the issue that a lot of Man United fans have had.
I don't think Ten Hag's talent ID is actually great. I don't think he can actually identify someone and say, yeah, that's a great player. I think he can vastly improve the talents who are brought to him. Like, I think Højlund will become a great player. I think Garnacho will be a great player. I'm not sure about Manu, because I think people need to ease off on the pressure a bit now, because people are expecting him to come in and be this saviour. And he's still a teenager, he's still young. I don't think his talent ID is brilliant, but I'm not sure if it's fully the manager's job to have a great talent ID. That's the director of football, that's the scouts' jobs. And then the manager will look at them and say, yeah, I think I can work with him, or no, I don't think he's for me. I think talent ID, I don't think it's necessary, especially at a club like United, when you have loads of scouts and you have when you should have loads of scouts and you should have this really competent board who know what they're doing. And he hasn't had that, so he has to try.
Then, so if I just ask you the question, so if is there an issue potentially of, when there was the phase where there was the manager recruitment, when the managers were meant to be getting recruited, there was obviously the interview phase, and Ten Hag spoke to Tottenham, spoke to us, and when he actually ended up getting the job at Man United, the story came out that he very much had certain assurances been made before he took on the role of Manchester United, which of course I can't fault him for, because we all know how much of a mess this club is. Without assurances, you're literally going into this job knowing you're effed from day one. Yeah. So some of those assurances people are posing must have been that he has a lot of autonomy over who it is we bring in the transfer window, which I'd actually agree to some extent that those are probably true reflections of what's happened, because look at Amrabat. There was the story that came out that the scouting team didn't actually want Amrabat, but this guy pushed it. We went and got him. There was there were stories of people thinking that Anthony wasn't right, especially for that price, that we could have done something else with that money. Boom, we still went and got him. There was talk at a certain point during the first transfer window that our pursuit of Frankie de Jong, the club didn't actually think we're going to be able to actually get Frankie de Jong, that he doesn't want to come, but Ten Hag very much kept pushing, saying, no, get me Frankie. So when I'm seeing all this, doesn't that just, like, who then is to blame? Is it just the club itself, or are we not also looking at the manager, because he's pushing these things? He's probably had the assurances and now he's pushing for it. So is it just down to the club? And will getting a director of football actually change the stuff? Because if he's had those assurances, What's to say that director of football comes in and he even then goes ahead and forces his own ideas of what players we should get over the director of football?
I think Ten Hag will actually be less hands-on. I think he's had to cover a lot. He's practically been a board member and a manager
Yeah, I'd agree
so
with that.
far.
I'd agree with that.
He's had to pick his players. He's had to say that he definitely wants them. He's had to try and convince the players to join. He's had to do a lot of the work himself. And then you have these people who can't even negotiate a good deal for him, and then they're wasting extra money he can use elsewhere. But I think when he was getting interviewed, he was saying that he would help Rashford get better. He would improve this player and
Yeah,
that
I
player
remember.
and this, just to save more money. And they're good players as well. But he made it very clear that he did want Frankie de Jong, and the club told him, "Yeah, we'll get you Frankie de Jong." And I remember we started working on that deal in May, and we didn't get him. We just never got him in the end. And I don't think that would ever happen again. I don't think it ever will happen. I think it'll be very different soon. But I think now he'll say to the board, he'll be like, "Look, I want this player. Here's a list. I have orders here." I think they'll work together. I think him and, I don't know, Paul Mitchell or Blanc and all these guys will sit down and go, "Yeah, we like this player, but we're not sure if he's good for the long term. Maybe we'll go for this one. I know he's your number 2, but we think he might be better for the club instead of just you, because you could be gone in a year."
Yeah,
I think
facts.
he'll be very less hands-on, and he'll just be focused on being the manager. And yeah, he'll have to try and convince certain players to join, but that's every manager has to do that. But he should never have to come to a club like United, where he should have the best structure and the best of everything, and be as hands-on as he had to be.
That I would agree with, to be honest. It can't run being a club of this stature and you're having to run all assets. Football has moved on in the sense that there is so much more that goes into all processes from top to bottom, and especially nowadays when it comes to player recruitment, it is not what it used to be back in the day. Now it's so intricate with all the statistics they look at. Of course, whatever you know about, I'm sure you know about more about the scouting process in general, but it's very intricate, and there's no way a manager with the amount of duties and commitments they have can also be so hands-on with these processes. Like, where are the people in place? So when it comes down to the talk of, a Paul Mitchell coming in, whether he ends up being the correct candidate, that's left, just put that to one side, but the actual role needs to be filled. I personally would still look at Ralph Rangnick. I would still look at him, even if it's him along with the Jean-Claude Blanc coming in as well, maybe even alongside the Paul Mitchell, if they have different hierarchical roles. I would like all three potentially. I think many of these clubs have like a technical director and also sporting director. So why couldn't we get a Paul Mitchell and a Ralph Rangnick? I would personally like to see that happen. I don't think it will, but that'd be nice to see. So Worthy, I'll pose a similar question to what I asked TJ. Do you see Ten Hag's recruitment improving under a sporting director? So do you actually think we'll make more unique, shrewd signings? You'll see what TJ was talking about before. Do you think we'll have a balance of experience but also young talent? Will we continue seeing players that have only worked under Ten Hag coming in, players that he knows personally, has trust in them and faith in them? Or will you see him go out and actually look for the best of the best and just a wider variety of talent coming to the club?
Alright, so I think first of all, what's going to happen, I think if a new director of football, if the new board comes in, I think firstly they're going to listen to the scouts. I think there has to be no changes to the scouts. The scouts are like amazing. They're recommending like amazing players forward, but they just don't get listened enough. They don't even get listened. The United scouts are that good. They recommended, I believe they recommended Nunes, like when he was at Uruguay.
As in Darwin Nunes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
when
are.
He was like burning off the Uruguay league. Even Suarez recommended it to Barcelona, but they rejected it. So did we. I mean, there's a lot of players the scouts come to the board with, and the board rejects scouts every time, unless it's John Murtough who gets the players himself. Which, okay, all right, fair enough. The players he got, like Garnacho, talented, fair enough. But I think first of all they're going to listen more to the scouts. So yeah, I think that's a positive. So yeah, I think we will see changes.
Bro, that's the only thing I can hope for at this point, because we're going down this route of continually signing these players without that appears almost like we have got a clear plan as to what we need, what we actually need and want. My main thing is I have to talk about the Mount thing again, because I don't think he's a horrendous player or anything like that, but I have a big issue with that particular signing because it just did not tick any boxes for what roles we needed getting filled at the club. It just didn't tick any boxes. Don't know whether you guys agree with this or not, but he's similar in profile to what a Bruno is meant to offer, but just vastly inferior in terms of his output. He's a little bit better on the ball in terms of a little bit tidier. He's got a better half turn, all that stuff. But in terms of end product, which is what at the end of the day we did need because of our lack of output, he doesn't provide that. So why is he there? What specialist skill is Mason Mount providing, which has been able to elevate this club to make him worth a 50 mil investment? Because I'm sorry, but do not tell me there is not a brother in Ecuador, flipping Cuba, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, that for half the price could have been vastly superior to Mason Mount now, and in a few years have a much higher potential than him. Don't tell me we couldn't have found some of these people like the Oscar Zambranos. We missed out on Caicedo. These are all players with a higher ceiling and offer specialism in their role on the pitch. What do you guys think about that in terms of the Mason Mount signing in particular? I want to talk about for a little bit.
I think the Mason Mount signing was they thought Mount could play at 8. Clearly not when we see him play. I don't think he's at 8 in my eyes. I think he's a 10. But you can clearly see it when Mount plays. He's more attacking. He doesn't. Well, he does come back, but the link-up play, he goes up. He keeps going up. So in my opinion, when United got him, when Ten Hag got him, he thought he could play him at 8, which clearly didn't work. So I think the whole Mount signing was a mistake. So I don't know. Unless we're going to keep him, maybe, I don't know, hopefully not, it isn't going to happen. Maybe Saudi Arabia comes in and bids for Bruno, and Bruno goes, maybe we'll keep him then, but I don't think that will happen.
Bro, the guy's got the number 7 shirt. Yeah. I don't want to be rude or anything, but at some point, once I found out Mount was coming, I was like, yeah, you know what? Whatever. I just didn't care. I was pissed at first when I heard about it. Then when he signed, I thought, you know what? You know when someone signs for Man United and they become your player now, start becoming a little bit shameless, innit? You're like, you know what? He's my guy. More time, he's going to be all right. We're going to be all right. But then when I saw the number 7, I thought to myself, you know what, yeah? We are not serious. We're not serious. Because irrespective of whether Man United have honoured the 7th shirt or not, at the very least, the only thing I can say is we had tried to honour the shirt. Yes, the guys since Ronaldo had all flopped, but we did try to give it to an Edison Cavani who scored hundreds of goals in his career. We tried to give it to a Memphis Depay who was an absolute starlet in at PSV back in the Dutch league. Yeah. We tried to give it to the likes of we were meant to give it at some point to Jadon Sancho before this crap happened. Again, as someone who ripped it up as a starlet during his teen years at Dortmund. We'll try to give that shirt to the best of the best coming through. Whether they were older, more experienced players that will come in by passing through the club, or long-standing players that are meant to be at the club for a long period of time. But now we've given it to Mason Mount. And that for me showed me where we currently are as a club. Because I'm sorry, irrespective of whether Mason Mount ends up being a good signing, let's call a spade a spade. He won't ever be more than just a good signing. He will never be great. And the number 7 is meant to be for greatness. Do you guys agree with that or not?
Yeah, I mean, clearly when you see the number 7 shirt has been passed down, like wrongfully. I mean, number 7 shirt shoving to Garnacho. I mean, you look at the people who wore the number 7 shirt. You see Ronaldo, you see Beckham, you see Cantona.
Exactly, but
I
that
mean, no one deserves the number 7 shirt unless they're that quality,
Mhm.
which Garnacho is.
is it, but then
Mount isn't even near that quality.
exactly, and that's the thing. That's the thing. He's wearing that shirt, yeah, and then the manager has given him that, and according to the news, it was as a bargaining chip again to bring him in. And this goes back to the whole talent ID thing. Why was Mason Mount still so desperate to get Mason Mount as if this guy is the next? If you know what, I would have actually been okay if let's say we signed Frankie De Jong and he gave him the 7. I would have been like, I'm okay with that, because Frankie De Jong is one of the best players in the world in that position, in that certain profile. In ball carrying, he's arguably the best midfielder in the world at ball carrying. If you watch him, it's just almost, you just think to yourself that this guy it's almost weird how easy it is for him to just walk past people in midfield. Generally speaking, he's got a certain skill, which is his ball progression ability and carrying, which are one of the best in the world at doing that. There's nothing Mason Mount can do which is the best at anything. So that tells me that this guy's scouting, his talent ID, and how much influence he has over the signings we had is so incredible. And let's call a spade a spade. Manchester United are a marketing club. The board would have not been happy with giving him the number 7. They would have wanted to give it to another big signing, maybe even potentially even Rasmus Højlund. They'd have looked to give it to him or Garnacho before giving it to Mount. The fact that he got it means his influence, the Ten Hag, is massive, which is why any of these failed signings, poor profiles, I'm looking at him. So before we end, I have to leave it on the question for the both of you. Will Ten Hag and the players he brings in actually get us back to the top? Straight up question. Do you genuinely think this guy will bring in the level of quality that is needed for us to get back to the top?
I'll let TJ answer that one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to tell because you don't know who he's going to sign next. There's already plans, like they already have a rough idea of who they're going to go for next summer.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know until they step on the pitch. Like when we signed Reguilon, we all called it this disgraceful money-saving signing that was never going to work.
Yeah, true, sir.
And he was, he was arguably one of our most passionate players in the games he played. He looked like he wanted to die on the pitch.
Yeah.
Rather than lose the ball or not run back to defend.
Was he playing?
He was everywhere.
Is he playing for a contract?
Sorry?
Is he playing for a contract? Oh, did you hear what I said?
I don't know. It's hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to tell. I think he could. I think he definitely could be trying to play for a contract.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure he'll get one though. I don't think he will. But I wouldn't be against it, especially if Spurs agreed to like a cut price deal, maybe of like maybe 10 or 15 million. I think I would accept. I'd definitely go for that. He's definitely a good backup option to have because, as you can see, like he can have these ridiculous amounts of injuries at one time, and even he got injured now. He's back, but with three left backs injured. I don't even know how that happens. And I think Ten Hag signings. I think he's had a lot in the first season. I think he had a lot more hits than misses.
Yeah.
Casemiro was great.
Lisandro.
Last year was good when he played.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree.
Well, so what you have. Lisandro was great. Malacia was good. Casemiro was brilliant. Who else was there? I think Sabitzer, I think when he did play, he was decent enough. Todd Weghorst was awful.
Oh yeah, we don't need to talk about that guy.
I think Mount in the past few games has actually been better.
Yeah, it's been better.
Onana, I think give him a bit of time because but we'll see. So far, it's looking like a bit of a miss, but I don't know because his distribution it is what it was meant to be. It's very good, and I think he's getting a bit unlucky now with the shots he's not saving, because I think the one against Brentford he got a bit too much hate for, because I don't know what more he could have really done. Like, it's not like he didn't try and save it. I think he got a hand to it, but he just couldn't save it. But I think overall the signings have been good. I think they will work out, and I think Ten Hag is the right person to bring us back. I think his signings will be, but I hope he's not as involved with the signings.
Yeah,
I hope
Mhm.
the new board, the new director of football, president, CEO, I hope they control the signings. I hope he gets who he wants a lot of the time if the board agree. But if the board don't agree, I'd be happy enough for that to happen as well. As long as they back him as much as possible, as much as what they agree with, I think we'll be fine.
And there we go. Couldn't have said it better myself, TJ. So, just gonna end up the stream now. Love people in the chat and love for Worthy and TJ again coming on and having to say. Of course, we've got more coming up, and we've got the Sheffield United game this weekend, which of course we'll be covering a watch along on the channel. Tomorrow, unless it's a bomber and a big bit of news coming out, we'll actually be doing a more fun video rather than all this transfer talk. Yeah, of course, if there's anything breaking, we'll mention that as well. But tomorrow will be more of a fun video. We'll just do a list ranking, yeah, the top 10 Premier League midfielders of all time. If you guys are interested in coming on for that one,
Yeah.
that'd be cool. I'm interested to see your opinions on that. In fact, beyond the midfielders, we're just going to do top 10 Premier League players of all time ranked as well, not just a random list. It's got to be ranked 1 through 10. That's going to be a difficult one. I want to see what you guys' ball knowledge is looking like.
We know what Worthy's looks like. So.
Alright.
Worthy gonna throw in? Who's Worthy throwing in? Mane.
I mean, coming from the person that's backing Anthony, I mean, he's almost meat riding Anthony.
I
So
did not back Anthony. I just he contributes a lot to the team.
the meat riding's unreal.
Oh, he's a
well,
off the ball merchant.
I'm not high on guitar copium, so.
Fair enough, man. We'll leave the slander for tomorrow. Then we'll see what you guys are saying with that. Then, all right, then. Love people and look forward